we will get into maybe that little tussle that Scott Bessent had. I imagine things are getting a little hairy for the Secretary of Treasury, because one can't help but think that he thought he was going to be Fed chair. It's quite clear he's not going to be Fed chair. He thought that he could probably convince Trump not to do the tariff thing and crash the economy for his buddies. It looks like that's not happening. Either way, it's going to be a crap show, because the tariffs are already taking their toll on inflation. The economy is stalled out. There's reason to believe that parts of the country are already in a recession. Even if the tariff thing was to be reversed ultimately by the courts, and you can't rely on the Supreme Court, the amount of money the U.S. government would have to then pay back to people, and by people, we're not talking about the people who paid the tariffs. It's probably going to go to Howard's sons, who bought up a huge portion of all the potential tariff refunds. Bessent gets into a fight with Trump's FHA hatchet man, who has been digging through the mortgage documents of Trump's enemies, found discrepancies in mortgage documents by one member of the Fed, mortgage documents she initiated and signed well before she was part of the Fed, as a way to get her to quit the Fed, that Bessent is no longer going to be a part of. And he gets into a big fight with him. I guess they got into each other's face. They were trying to take it outside to have a fight, but they didn't want to get hit by bags of stuff falling out of the window of the White House, apparently. And but at the heart of this is the economy is what appears to be doing, like, cratering.
Yeah.
And Bessent is in the news saying things are going to turn around in a year. Like,
that was Letnick, but yes.
No.
Oh, him too now?
No, Letnick said that yesterday. And
this is
Bessent,
just the talking point.
This is what they're starting to talk about now, because
pie in the sky when you die.
But the interesting thing is like it's just now that we're starting to see like any reference to this in the economy. And now, Bessent, to his favor, says actually we're going to see the economy should accelerate by the fourth quarter, and presumably that's this year, fourth quarter.
Which is basically when every expert I've heard on this topic has said is going to be when the economy completely collapses, when inventory that has been accumulated in anticipation of the tariffs runs out, when holiday season comes around and the tariffs on China, where people will be buying toys for children, are going to be in effect. Even if Trump is unable to prove the legality of his tariff regime by that's the October deadline, that doesn't have its effects like miraculously dissipate overnight ahead of Christmas and Hanukkah and all of that. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And someone's asking, I still don't understand how Ludnick's sons placed that bet. In financial markets, or just in finance in general, you can buy essentially the rights to something that is owed somebody. So this happens in bankruptcies all the time. Majority Report goes bankrupt. I still owe Brian money. And it's quite clear I'm not going to pay Brian, or at least Brian's not sure if he will. So I owe Brian $100. Obviously that's a half year's salary. And Brian's like, I don't know if I'm going to get this money. And if I do, I don't know when. And Matt comes along. He's savvy. And he says, Brian, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $50 or I'll give you $25 right now. And you walk away and you just give me the right to collect that loan. I'm going to bet that loan may come in. Maybe I'll only get 50 cents on the dollar, but I'll give you $25 today. Brian goes, you know what? I'm going to take that $25 now because I don't think I'm going to get anything out of Sam. And Matt waits to see if he gets anything out of me. In this instance, Brian is somebody who had to pay the tariffs. And if the tariffs are found illegal, gets a refund. Matt's coming in and going like, you may not get that refund. And this was like 3 or 4 months ago. But Matt, in this instance, is literally Howard Lutnick's sons at a subsidiary of Cantor Fitzgerald. They're buying up that $100 potential refund for $25. And they may end up seeing all $100.
But even today, because of the court rulings, that refund that you bought, that right to refund you bought for $25 back in April, may be worth $50 today because it looks like there's a better shot of those refunds happening. Nevertheless, that is distinct, or at least the tariffs have been raising prices. But what's also happening is the economy is slowing because the tariffs are also harming the economy. And here is the CEO of McDonald's basically outlining, I think, a dynamic that's existed in this country for decades. But it is particularly pronounced now in terms of like the direction of economic fortunes for people across the income distribution.
And part of what we also saw was that, particularly with middle and lower income consumers, they're feeling under a lot of pressure right now. I think there's a lot of commentary about what's the state of the economy, how's it doing, and what we see is it's really kind of a two-tier economy. If you're upper income, earning over $100,000, things are good. The stock markets are near all-time highs. You're feeling, quite confident about things. You're seeing international travel. All those barometers of upper income consumers are doing quite well. What we see with middle and lower income consumers is actually a different story. It's that consumers under a lot of pressure. In our industry, traffic for lower income consumers is down double digits. And it's because people are either choosing to skip a meal. So we're seeing breakfast. People are actually skipping breakfast, or they're choosing to just eat at home. And so for our business, which has a significant group of consumers which are in that middle and lower income, we needed to step in with something like what we're doing here.
Now, I don't know what he's doing, maybe lowering prices, or I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about, but that dynamic is something that has been brewing since all of the COVID support ended, 2023 or so. And I think a large reason why the Biden administration and then the Harris campaign could not recognize what was happening in the economy is because we have really, like in many respects, two different economies. One that is driven by wealthy people and is large enough where we mistake it as including the other, like, vast majority of people who actually live in our society.
The divide is really between people who are making their money gambling on the stock market and who have assets, and people who don't have property or assets and need to survive on wages. And that's always been the case. But there has been an effort to kind of segment the working class and calling them middle class versus lower income or whatever. It's just everybody that needs a wage to survive and doesn't own property or doesn't own these assets are going to be impacted by this disproportionately. And it's why 10 out of the last 11 recessions started under Republican administrations. Just throwing that out there. And income and wealth inequality keeps getting worse and worse and worse. This is just so naked what they're doing right now, where they know that they have the funds to gamble and increase their wealth, and everybody else will have to deal with the increased prices. And Donald Trump is trying to bring all these corporations to him to negotiate, to get deals for himself and his buddies. If you're already in the top 0.001%, what is a recession going to do for you except create assets on the cheap for you to buy up and increase your wealth?
Yep. And of course, that's called populism.
Apparently.
For some.
And by the way, before we get to this ad, just quickly, this AI bubble, the data that we're seeing about how that's going to burst, like the technology sector is basically the only healthcare, for-profit healthcare, and technology is like the only thing that's growing in the United States right now. I guess real estate too, because there's a lot of building happening in places like Texas and stuff. But AI is the is like the center of this technological expanse. And we're seeing that already these large firms, the adoption rates for AI into their workflow is decreasing and has been over the past few months. And without the gains in the healthcare sector, the Financial Times had this. that the non-farm payroll reports that came out on Friday would have what'd you say?
Non-farm.
Is that what I said? Or I did? Form. Damn it. I'm just reading my bad handwriting. Non-farm payroll reports would have been a loss. So this is not. It's like consumer spending's down, jobs are down, and this one speculative bubble is about to burst because our AI does not have the value that is being portrayed by the markets. It's totally disconnected from reality.
We'll have more to say on this, obviously, in the coming days and probably weeks, maybe months.
Years.
Possibly years. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.